Everyone, I am Meredith Church Pipes. I'm the Global and Civic Engagement Specialist for the Walker College of Business, and I am really excited to have you folks here to talk about studying and interning abroad. Right now, we've all been cooped up for so long, it feels like this will never actually happen again, but I promise it really will, and we really will get to go and see the world again. And so today we have a couple of our wonderful College of Business majors who did some great exploring before everything got locked down. We've got Megan Temple and Molly Campillo who are going to talk about their experiences with us. We've got Veronica Lozano-Toub, who is our expert in career services with international internships. And then Mark Hagen from the Office of International Education and Development will be talking about study abroad in general and options for you. So we hope that all of you who are here feel free to ask questions as we go along. We'll definitely make sure to have time at the end, but feel free if you have a question to just pop it in the chat, or you can unmute and just ask. So anything is fine. We're very flexible. Well, we won't be a huge crowd, so it makes it easy to really accommodate everybody's curiosity and interests. So we can go ahead and I guess we'll get started. Last time I had the presentation and I was sharing it, and I was really not very good at this toggling back and forth, but I may try that again unless anyone has a better idea here. I see you over there, Maria. How are you? Do you want to go through the presentation for us if I share it with you real quick and you can kind of—
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be awesome, because I have realized I am not so good at that. So let me share that real quick and share it over with you. And then we'll get started, and maybe we'll give Mark a second to join us here. Well, while I'm doing this, if the folks who are here, if anyone wants to go ahead and just share what brought them to this meeting, if you have some specific plan in mind, or if you're just kind of exploring options and curious, and you can just go ahead and share. Whoever wants to go first, that would be awesome.
I can go first.
Awesome.
My name's Grayson. I'm actually a music industry studies major, but I have a business minor, and I'm dual concentrating in like marketing and recording. And I've just been wanting to get more involved in the business aspect. So I just looked at the calendar of like all the things y'all offer in the school business. I've always been interested in studying abroad, so I was just seeing what I could get involved with, not as a music major, but maybe business minor or what have you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, and a lot of the experiences that we're talking about are really kind of for anyone, so it don't even have to have a business minor, so that's perfect. Glad you're here. Vanessa, do you want to?
I'm here for international business with a minor in Spanish. So I'm planning on going to Spain, hopefully.
Oh, perfect. Great. Thank you, Connor.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. So I'm also an international business major with also a minor in Spanish. So I'm just trying to see, if it is going to happen, or see what's going on this year with it. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. I think Sutton can't actually use her microphone right now, but I think, let's see who else. Caroline, maybe, would you like to tell us how you joined us today? And then Jordan.
Hey, I'm Caroline. I'm a sophomore, and I have always wanted to study abroad, and I have always been interested in just learning more about international business. So I'm just here exploring options today.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jordan, what about you? Oh, you don't have, oh, I see. No worries. So Jordan was just saying he wants to study abroad, but he's in the library, so he can't talk right now. So just here to get information. Perfect. All right. Well, Maria, are you able to share your screen for us?
Yes, I know how to share that PowerPoint.
Okay. and just share that for us, and we'll kind of go through. We're actually going to start with Megan's experience, and then we'll go to Molly, and then we'll end with our experts at the end. Oh, and Sutton shared that she's a hospitality and tourism management major, and she is looking for some options since the program she wanted to participate in got canceled. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Well, Megan, if you want to get started, we'll go ahead and let you share your experiences with everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm Megan, and I'm an accounting major, and I studied abroad in the Netherlands, spring 2020. So this time last year. Okay. So I was at Radboud University in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, in their School of Management. So Nijmegen is it is the oldest city in the Netherlands, and I found that really a unique attribute. So when I was looking at places to study abroad, I really wanted to go somewhere that I had never been before, and experience a culture that was completely foreign to me, and really throw myself into something new and exciting. So I ended up with Nijmegen, which is the oldest city in the Netherlands, and it's in the province of Gelderland, and it's right there on the German borders. That was also a really big thing that I was looking at, was finding somewhere where I could go, where I could then explore a lot of Europe and a lot of different cultures and countries, and meet a bunch of different people in like one pretty tight area, I guess, where it was really easy to travel around and use public transportation, and like their buses and trains were really easy to navigate. And so that is one of the reasons I ended up in the Netherlands. Yeah, so going off of that, the traveling was a big influence on that decision. So I was able to cycle across the border and go over into Germany for like a day trip, and take the trains and go to Switzerland, and then fly across the channel and go visit the UK, and take trains throughout the Netherlands and go to Amsterdam and like a couple of the other notable cities around. And that was a really great experience for me, and something that I was definitely prioritizing in my choice when I was trying to figure out where to go and what I wanted to do with my study abroad experience. I was in the Nijmegen School of Management at Radboud, and that was a major thing that I was also looking into, was just places that had the classes that I needed for my as a business major. And they had a really great School of Management, and a lot of like business elective classes I could choose from and use. So yeah, that was great. And I also really wanted to find a place that was a local university that had local students going there. That was a big priority for me as well, was I really wanted to absorb myself into an authentic culture. And yeah, Radboud was the perfect place for that, where it was a lot of local Dutch students, and then also a lot of international students. So I didn't feel completely isolated, and there was a community of other students who were going through what I was, with throwing themselves into a new culture and trying to figure it out as we went. But I also really wanted to learn a new school system and like how education worked somewhere else, and that's why I chose Radboud too.
Yeah, I'll just say share a quick thought with that. That is a really important point that Megan raises when you're considering study abroad, is to think about the type of program that you're going into. Because there are programs where you'll basically be taking classes only with students who are not from the country that you are in. Like maybe it's just an English course just for international students, or programs that are just for international students. So as you're looking at programs, you can talk to the folks over in the Office of International Education and Development to kind of find out what the program you're considering is like, and whether you will have classes with local students or not. So that's it's definitely really a good point to consider as you're picking a location.
Yeah. So then as far as the culture and food went as well, I had to think a lot about that as well because I am a vegetarian, and I just had to kind of come to terms with the fact that there might be situations in which I might not be able to only eat plants, I guess, and just be flexible with that. Like, it is something that's important to me, but I had to kind of come to terms with the fact that it would probably be rude and culturally unacceptable to refuse to eat food that was given to me. So I just had to get over that. But honestly, it was really easy to eat as a vegetarian or even a vegan in the Netherlands. They had way more options than we have here in Boone. And it honestly turned out to not be a big deal at all. But I did kind of have to think that one through and just be okay with having to maybe alter that expectation for myself. And then there was also the partying and drinking and smoking culture in the Netherlands, which is huge. And like, that was a big culture shock for me because it's like, if you want to study with friends, or if there's like university like sponsored events, even, they're pretty much always at a pub or a bar or a cafe or something. So that was just very different for me to get used to, and to have to set very clear boundaries for myself going into it as well, where it was like, I know this is very normal, and like, getting to know students might be a little bit difficult if I'm not going to absorb myself in that completely, but I would still go to the pub quizzes and the pub crawls, but I just had to learn how to politely refuse something that I wasn't comfortable with, especially being there by myself and not knowing other people, just for my own safety. And I just chose not to really go into that whole party culture personally. But yeah, that was also something I just had to think through a little bit. And then bikes, that is a huge part of Dutch culture, and something I was really excited about when I was going to the Netherlands. I really do not like driving, so it was great to have that as an option. But it was something I couldn't really prepare myself for. So I'm not really an avid cyclist, and there was really no way of preparing myself for how integrated cycling is into everyday life in the Netherlands. Like, to get anywhere, you have to have a bike. So that just took a while to get used to how that all works, and just the rules and the laws in the Netherlands surrounding that I had to learn to keep myself and others safe. But in the end, it was one of my favorite things, and one of the things I miss the most now, with not being able to just cycle to the grocery store and pick up whatever I need for the week, and then just cycling back, or cycling over to Germany. Like, those experiences are so unique and special to me now. And I definitely feel like I took them for granted while I was there, because it was so normal. But yeah, some things will surprise you, and some things you'll just have to kind of go with the flow with. So then, living as an international student, I was really disappointed when I found out that there were no homestay opportunities in Nijmegen. So that was a big shock, I guess, at first, but I ended up living in student housing, which is not on campus, but it is where like pretty much all the students live, especially international students. And you live on like a big hall of 16 students, and then you share bathrooms and kitchen and like laundry, but then everyone gets their separate bedroom, which is really cool and a lot different to living on campus here at App and like pretty much all across the US. And that was something that was interesting, with living with a whole hall of international students. We were all internationals, other than like 2 who were local Dutch students. And that was really cool, like just spending time with each other and cooking together, and playing games or just whatever. Those are some of my favorite memories as well, just being in the residence halls and getting to know each other. And that brings us to being sent home early. So I ended up being in the Netherlands for 2.5 months before I was sent back, which I know is a lot longer than a lot of students got that semester. But the way the Dutch education system works is you have 4 blocks instead of 2 semesters. So I was technically there for 2 blocks, block 3 and block 4, from February to like June, July is when they end. So I was actually able to finish 1 block before coming back, and then I had to start a new one with new classmates and new professors from the beginning while I was home. And that was a really big shift for me as well, going from living in the Netherlands and being absorbed in that culture and learning there with other students, and then being sent back, and like being in the US, but still spending like my whole day online, basically in the Netherlands, communicating with my classmates. And that was also interesting because Radboud chose not to do many online exams because of academic integrity issues. So we had all like group projects, which being sent home was definitely an interesting situation with that, with just trying to figure out time zones and like communicating with classmates that had also been sent home and were in like South Korea or Russia or like France, and like figuring out all of our time zones so that we could finish our projects together. But it was also a really great learning experience there as well. But yes, it was definitely disappointing being sent back after not expecting that to happen. But I'm really glad I was able to finish it out and get the credits from the work I had spent there. Yes, so that is all I have for you guys, and I can put my email in the chat so that if anyone has like questions about the Netherlands or just studying abroad in general, like feel free to shoot me an email later. That is totally cool. But yeah, if anyone has questions, let me know.
Yeah, if anyone has questions right now for Megan, we can definitely take them. I'm curious, when you decided to study abroad, had you been abroad before, or was that your first time?
I had been abroad. I am actually from an immigrant family from South Africa, so I have dual citizenship there, and like grew up in my first years over there, and that means I have quite a lot of family there still. So we'd go back and visit, and then I have family across the world in different places as well, that I had also gone to some other European countries in the past to visit them. But I had never gone to the Netherlands, and I knew that I liked Europe itself, I guess, just as in general, for the fact that you can travel so easily. But I wanted to go places that I'd never gone before, and that was, I had never been to the Netherlands or to Germany and like Brussels area, so Belgium and Brussels. So yeah, that's kind of why I chose Northern Europe, was because I'd never gone there before.
Yeah. Was it a very different experience from your other international experiences, being on your own?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, it was a huge difference being completely alone. Like, I didn't have anyone else there. I didn't know anyone. And like in all of the other times I had ever gone traveling, it was with my family. But aside from that, even having a complete new start, I guess, even at like an educational institution, was new for me as well, because even when I came up to App, like I knew a couple people and like we would kind of do things together, but starting completely from scratch and having to build that community and find friends and navigate the city and figure that all out on your own was a big adjustment for me, but also one of the most rewarding things too, with really pushing myself and forcing myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the value of the experience is the challenge itself. Sometimes the hardest parts are the things that make us grow the most.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you, Megan. Surely there's someone with at least one question out there that you can just like send in the chat, or oh, Grayson, you raised your hand. You want to go ahead and unmute? Cool.
So this might be a general study abroad question. I mean, there's not that many people at the School of Music, especially my degree, studying abroad, so it might be redundant. Did you have like curriculum specific to that university, or is there kind of like a, I don't know, like a crossover between App State and their curriculum, so you can get like the credits, or is it kind of like its own thing?
Yeah, so for Radboud, I was there as an exchange student. So I basically just had whatever Radboud was doing was what I learned. And then before you go abroad, what you do is you meet with like department heads, and you bring a list of like classes you think might be similar to other classes that app has. And then they kind of like write down which one they think would like translate into what a similar app class would be. At least that was my experience. So it'll be called something else when you get back as well, like at app, like the transfer credit was called something different. And like, but the curriculum I was doing was completely Radboud, and like app didn't make any of that. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question, Grayson. Any others before we move on to Molly? All right. Well, Molly, you want to take it away? Oh, whoops. There's one in the chat here. It says,
okay. Yeah, Jordan.
You got it?
Grade I was in when I studied abroad, I was a sophomore.
Yeah, and oftentimes junior year seems to be a popular time to study abroad because you've got a good number of your classes under your belt. Your senior year can be a little complicated for getting credits back, and you might be stuck with really specific classes. But sophomore is nice too because you get that experience early. That's definitely, whenever I've advised students about studying abroad, if you can look at your curriculum and look at the most general classes, the categories of class that are the least specific to fill, that can sometimes, if you save those for study abroad, those can be good. But yeah, cool.
All right, well, thank you all. I have to run off to a class now, but if you have any questions, please email me if you come up with them later.
Thank you, Megan.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so should I jump on in?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Campillo. I'm double majoring in international business and global studies, and I'm minoring in Spanish. And Megan's presentation was very in-depth on one location, whereas I did honestly like every type of study abroad. So I'm going to be doing like a quicker overview of each of the places, and then whatever you guys have questions about, I can go more in depth into a specific location or type of program or whatever you want. I've got the next slide. Okay, oh, sorry, this is a repeat. So first of all, so I've been on a faculty-led summer program to Spain. I did the Holland Fellows program to China after my sophomore year. And from that, I was able to get a scholarship to go back to Fudan for an international student summer session. Then I did an exchange program in Tokyo at Tokyo International University. And then I did an internship in person in Dublin last spring, and then was able to continue with a different internship that was in England, but I was I was personally in the US while I was doing it remotely. Trying to go to the next one. Okay, so I sort of skipped the Dominican Republic because that was an international alternative service experience. So that doesn't have much to do with the College of Business, but I definitely would recommend looking into those. That was for like a spring break, and it was really wonderful. But the first major program that I did was to Madrid. I was there for a month. It was faculty-led, so there were 2 professors from app and I think around 30 students who were there. And I was able to take 2 classes. So I got 6 credit hours for my Spanish minor. That I did a host family stay. So those were the 3 sisters that I had while I was there, which was kind of fun because I have 3 little sisters at home. So I was able to be in a group of 4 sisters again. So that was pretty fun. And it was amazing getting to know their families, speaking Spanish a ton. And Madrid is just such an incredible city. And obviously I know people mentioned they're Spanish minors. So honestly, these programs are awesome for being able to get your Spanish levels up. Especially if you can do a homestay, but even if not, the classes are like really wonderful for meeting people. And I was able to go to different cities every weekend. We went to Toledo and sorry, what's it called? Salamanca, I went to visit a friend, Sevilla and a bunch of other places. And obviously Barcelona afterwards. I actually was able to stay a few weeks after to backpack to a bunch of other countries, sort of like Megan mentioned she did. So I definitely recommend if you can build on also an extra like week or 2 to your trip, you can sort of do other things, have a lot of flexibility if you're already over there. I'm going to go to the next one. The next major thing that I did was the summer afterwards was Holland Fellows. That was, if you guys haven't heard of the program, 12 students from Abroad and 12 students from Fudan University in Shanghai. And we work on a project for all of a spring semester, doing a 3-credit-hour class and doing an international business program sort of project. A bunch of students, all the students from Shanghai come over to the US for 2 weeks in March, and then we go to China for 3 weeks in May after classes end and everything. That was another 3 credit hours. We did the first few days in Beijing. We did like the Great Wall and got to wander around a bunch. We spent most of the time in Shanghai, that like middle week and a half, where we did a lot of our projects, and we presented at the student forum for the Shanghai Economic Forums. That was really wonderful being able to present. We got all like business dressed up and everything, worked together to go on cool company visits and things all around Shanghai, and that was really wonderful. And then we finished up the last few days in Hong Kong, which is an incredible city. And overall, that group of students, we all bonded so much. We did so much work together, and it's like such jam-packed periods of time. So it's just really wonderful to learn culturally, different ways to communicate and to work on. Our project was about single-use plastics and sort of coming up with a startup to go along with that. So it's a lot with design thinking and entrepreneurship, which I really, really enjoyed. But they do a different topic each year, so it's different if you were to apply. So yeah, each time it's really cool, and I absolutely would recommend that program. It was really wonderful. Then the next place was actually through knowing the professors from the Holland Fellows program. I was able to get a scholarship to go back to Shanghai for a month later that summer. So I flew home, had my job, and like worked a bunch to save up money, and then came back. I was able to take a bunch of classes, mostly for fun. I didn't bother transferring any credits back because it was a pretty short program and didn't have any direct equivalents. So this was mainly just for the cultural experience. I took like a fun Kung Fu class, which was really awesome, and just basically got to explore the city more. And met a bunch of international students from all over. And actually that photo with on the right, I actually still like meet up on Zoom with those people all the time. One of the people I actually got to see again, actually 2 of them I got to see again when I did my Dublin study abroad, because one from Germany was visiting for a weekend and another from China was studying there for a whole semester. So it's really wonderful, the sort of friendships that you can build up with people, and then end up actually seeing them again. We're talking, we have a Zoom set up for this Sunday, so like we can just hang out and continue sort of that dialogue like cross cultures, and just obviously really great friendships. It was an awesome program. And then after a quick little bit of time, I went to backpack in Thailand and South Korea for a few weeks, and then arrived in Tokyo for my fall semester. I was on an ISEP exchange, so that's a totally different type of program, and you can do exchanges all over the world. There in a ton of different cities, and there I took a few classes for international business and a few classes for global studies. And again, like Megan said, I just approved them ahead of time and then got to just take the classes there. And because it's an international university, there are a lot of students from Japan, and then also a bunch of students from especially a bunch of Asian countries. So I was able to meet a ton of people from all over as well. And all the classes that I took were in English. There were options in other languages as well. While I was there, I was able to go over to Osaka and Kyoto and a bunch of other places. And overall, Tokyo is just such an amazing and massive city. So we're never bored with things to do and explore. We hiked Mount Fuji together, which was really fun. I managed to convince 3 people to do it with me the day before. And you basically start at night and you hike all through the night. So you get to the top right as the sun is rising. So that was overall just an awesome experience. And while I was in other countries, I did take language classes, like in Spain, obviously, in China as well, but this one I did not. So in terms of language learning, I did not learn much Japanese, just the basics to get around and to be polite. But that was definitely an option. I know a lot of people did, just it didn't fit in with my majors, and I'm double majoring, so I've been jam-packed with classes, but it was overall amazing. I lived in an international student dorm, so unlike the homestays that I had done before, I was just in a bunch of halls like Megan was with a bunch of other international students from all over. And so that was also another way to experience Japan, because every single person was really excited, like, oh, let's go to Tokyo this weekend and go to this part of it. Let's go see this special thing, or like a museum. So it's really wonderful having that international community as well. And then the last program that I did, if you want to go to the next slide, was an internship for credit. I did a marketing and business development internship. It was in Dublin, Ireland. That last picture is right before I was sent home during the pandemic. It was obviously very empty. There's a picture on the right of the people that I had actually met in China who I was able to see again. And overall, I had an internship right off the river. It was really fun being right in downtown Dublin. I was able to learn. I really wanted to do an internship in an English-speaking country, just that I could have sort of that ease of communication, rather than really adding an extra challenge of working abroad and doing another language. But that's definitely an option. And so that was really wonderful, because a bunch of students from all over were all coming to do different types of internships, and so you have that community of a bunch of people working in different companies right near each other, but then having that community as well. Learned so much about Ireland and Irish history. There are so many museums in Dublin that you just were never bored and you always had things to do. And I was able to get credit hours that transferred back to the US from doing that. And it was really easy to do, like a contract and everything. So if anybody is interested, I would definitely recommend that. It was really incredible having real work experience during college that I've really been able to put on my resume and translate it into starting off my career. So definitely. And I don't know if I put that slide for the next thing or not. Oh, I did, okay. Because that spring semester I was sent home about a month early, I actually continued doing an internship, but for a company in London, and it was really wonderful. I enjoyed it so much through having my earlier one in marketing and business development, and then having one in merchandising. I realized that I really loved this sort of startup in e-commerce. And by having 2 experiences of working in very different roles in companies, I was able to learn what I really enjoy, and definitely what I want to be continuing doing this coming year. They've told me to contact them soon, like in March, because they don't hire people very far out, but they're growing a ton. And so I'm crossing my fingers, going to keep working for them, either in London in their main office or probably more likely in Berlin. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, that is basically an overview of each of the different things I did, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. There's my email. I can send it in the chat as well if you guys would like. And I know that wasn't quite as in-depth about any specific one of the countries, but if you guys have one in mind or a program you like, please feel free to ask now. Sorry, I know I talked fast about a lot of different places. So.
Yeah, as you can see, Molly she's actually had, I think, pretty much every single international experience type that is Appalachian State. So she's got lots of things you can ask questions on. And there was one in the chat there before I started talking, Molly.
Oh yeah. Also, I'll answer the other one above. I did that all through junior year. I'm a senior now, but I know that was for Megan. But this one about the internship, it was for the international credit, because international business does require that certain amount of time abroad. And so that would count for that. Normally, I mean, I already had that covered, and COVID actually cut mine short, so I don't know exactly how that would have worked, but it definitely did count as like the international requirement. Is that what you're talking about? Like that certain amount of weeks you need to be abroad doing either a study abroad or internship?
Yes, Sutton, and you're a hospitality major? I think. The internship does cover your global issues credit, if that's what you were asking about there. And then for the internship for credit, Veronica Lozano-Toub is going to be talking about this more in depth, but that kind of depends on your major and what you'd be doing for the internship. I don't know, Veronica, do you want to speak to that a little bit now, and then we'll do more later?
Sure. So Sutton, if you're a hospitality major, you're required to do a 10-week full-time experience in hospitality. It's unusual that a hospitality major does an international internship, but we did have one student do a fantastic one. I was in my windowless office in the summer when the student sent me pictures of the chateau that he was working in France. So he had studied abroad in France, and then the summer after that, his junior year summer, he went straight to this little chateau and did an internship at this boutique hotel. And the way he found it was he had traveled the year before with his family. They'd stayed in that place, and he got to know the owners and was friendly with them and said, "Look, can I come back and do an internship?" And they said yes. So it was a pretty remarkable experience. I wondered why I was in a windowless office and he was in this spectacular chateau in the middle of summer, living it up. But the answer is yes, it potentially could if it's approved by your faculty members. So either Dana Clark or Carol Klein would have to look at the content of it and approve it, but potentially, yes, that could work.
Yeah, and I know Mark Hagen will probably be speaking a little bit about some of our partners that we have abroad, and there are actually some programs, there's one in Vietnam that does have options for internships for students that study there, and they're actually in hospitality, so we do have some options that are interesting for hospitality majors that we might hear a little more about later. And Molly, I thought there was another question for you in there.
Yeah, I can answer that now. So it's about the language differences. It was honestly pretty easy in Tokyo because it's such a huge city that most of the signs had English underneath. And I was able to know just enough to like ask questions and thank people and things like that, because like my main concern is obviously being polite and not like demanding that people speak English to you. But in different cities, it was much more difficult. Like I know in like China and Thailand, it was more difficult. But then like if you're in Europe, most people have learned English as a second language as well. So like when you're with international groups, most people will be speaking English. But because Tokyo was such a huge city, I just felt like there was so much English up that I was able to navigate very easily and things like that. I know like if I had had a homestay or something, or if I were in a different city, then it would have been a lot more difficult and I would have probably added on a language class. But just since I was only going to be there for a few months, and since they have 3 alphabets and things, I figured I would not learn nearly enough Japanese to make it worth it within that short period of time. But it really just depends, honestly.
Molly, I'm curious, I know it's really hard to pick, but if you have to have only one of these experiences, is there one in particular that you feel like really made an impact on you personally or professionally? Or is it just too hard to choose?
I mean, honestly, that's it's crazy difficult because they were all important in different ways. Like I knew each one I was prioritizing learning different things. I know like in terms of like college and classes, Holland Fellows was definitely one of my favorites. Like I absolutely adored that program and the ability to go back to China. I would say Shanghai ties with Dublin for my 2 favorite cities like in the whole world. But in terms also of career, like I feel like I can't substitute how important that internship was to me, especially moving forward, just learning what it was like to work abroad and what types of things that I want. Because I know like I learned so much during my classes, but applying those things and seeing what I actually enjoyed doing day to day, like that was so important to me. And like now I feel so much better prepared to get a job, because before I honestly felt like who knows what I'm going to do, because my majors are very broad and can sort of lead into anything. So having that was really important to me, especially with how indecisive I am about what to do. So
Perfect.
And I felt safe everywhere. Like, honestly, I've almost never felt unsafe while traveling, especially, I mean, like in Tokyo, I mean, in most big cities, like there's so many people and there's so many like cameras everywhere and people are very polite and respectful. So I've honestly never, I don't know, I've never felt like I was in an unsafe situation.
Awesome. Well, why don't we turn it over to Veronica Lozano-Toub, who can talk a little more about international internships in general and some opportunities. But if questions occur to you for Molly, for Veronica, and for Mark later, just feel free to put them in the chat. We'll try and make sure we get to them. All right. Thanks, Veronica.
Thank you, Meredith. So I'm Veronica Lozano-Toub. If you haven't already met me, I work in business career services in the Walker College of Business. I help students with their resumes and internship and job search, work with employers that want to hire students, but also I help students with the paperwork for internships for credit. So if you want to move to the next slide. The paperwork process isn't that exciting, but I will tell you about some of the exciting internship students had in a minute. However, I want to just follow up on what Molly said, which is any sort of internship experience is so valuable, even if it's in the United States, but certainly to have that experience abroad is extra special. You have to adapt. And so whether you do it for credit or not, I would encourage you to get that kind of experience. But if you are a student for whom credit makes sense because you've met with your academic advisor and it fits your plan, then there is a paperwork process to go through, actually 2 processes. So I can tell you a little bit about our College of Business process, which can all be found on our website. If you go to businesscareers.upstate.edu, you'll see our webpage. And if you click on the career coaching on the left there, there's a drop-down menu. If you go to the next slide. So if you see to the left there, one of the choices is internships for credit. And when you click on that, there's a whole page that explains it. And now a video, I was telling Meredith about this, where I talk you through the paperwork process. So you want to plan ahead. There's a checklist that tells you the dates and the deadlines and sort of the rules, and then a list of the faculty advisors. So let's say you're a marketing major, there would be a specific professor who would approve the content of your marketing internship, supervise that internship, and give you a grade. So depending on your major, you would find that advisor and get them to approve the content of the internship. It's just got to fit within the parameters that are described on that checklist. And in addition, you would work with the Office of International Education and Development. There's a process for international internships that's sort of an extra process, really about safety, where they approve it, you fill out an application, you apply, you get special insurance, but that paperwork has to happen even sooner than the paperwork for the College of Business or your individual college if you're not in the College of Business. So I would just encourage you to start talking to your academic advisor and the Office of International Education and Development way ahead of time if you think this is something you want to do, not just from the point of view of the paperwork, but also to get some leads on how to find an internship. So speaking to that, how do you find an international internship? What's interesting to me, there are great programs like ISEP was mentioned, I think, and OID through their partnership universities has opportunities as well. There's even a newer situation where you can take classes or a class that's paired with an internship and get credit that way. So definitely talk to them. They will have lots of leads and opportunities. Read my emails because I try to send you links to that as well, especially if you're an international business major. But in addition, students have found really unique opportunities through their connections. So if you have any sort of connections or you've traveled and made friends and you can find an opportunity that way, I would say, why not? So one example I have, a student was studying abroad. I can't remember where, maybe it was Italy, but he wanted to find an internship in the summer and started looking for different opportunities and found a yacht company in Greece where he got a marketing internship. And so what he would do is he would create drone videos for the tourists that were taking the yacht trip. And those videos would then be sold to the participants if they wanted a record of their experience. So that was one of the things he did, and he got to spend his summer in Greece. It sounded amazing. Another student was a finance major, and his brother played basketball for a team in Eastern Europe. And so he, through his connection with his brother, managed to get a finance internship in Turkey. At that time, Turkey was under a travel warning, but through working with OIED was able to get a travel waiver. and go have this internship. And his dream was to manage finances for professional athletes. So it was like the perfect fit for him. And another internship, one of the first ones when I started in this internship role that I remember, a student was somewhere in Latin America. Now I can't remember what country, but she was working for a co-op that produced honey and coffee. I thought that sounded like a really great thing to do as an intern. So there are really unique opportunities out there, and I encourage you, especially if you're studying abroad, you know, if you could do what some of our students have done, like Molly, where you're abroad, but then it segues into an internship because you're already abroad, that would be ideal. So planning ahead is really key. And if you have any questions about the paperwork, reach out to me. I can put my email in the chat, but it's also all on our website. That businesscareers.appstate.edu website will allow you to make an appointment with me to read about that process. My contact information is repeated everywhere, so you won't miss out, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have questions now or any later time. Oh, I see a hand. Grayson?
Oh, sorry, I feel like I'm asking a bunch of questions. I'm just like in this weird limbo with my degree. But yeah, so I wrote down that you said we have to talk to our counselors and then like the head of our like business, and that would be Hay School of Music for my degree. But I'm still very interested in focusing on like the rest of the credits for my business minor or like still business related internships. And I guess if like that's whatever's the possibility based on my credit, because I am going to be I'm a junior now. So, and I know Ms. Pipes was talking about how like there's a chance for seniors it could get complicated. But I guess my question is that for someone like me who's like a business minor but still really interested in business, what are the opportunities maybe reserved for business majors, or like they get like precedent over people who aren't business majors or business minors, or is it all kind of fair game?
That's a great question, and absolutely not. Those opportunities are open to whoever is smart enough to go out and find it and get the job. But if you want academic credit, then it depends on what the rules are within your major or department. But if you're a business minor, it sounds to me like you could do a marketing internship if that's something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, so my concentration is like recording and production and then marketing and promotion. There's like 3 different concentrations for music industry studies. So the marketing aspect is like really, I mean, that's really interesting to me too. But yeah, and that was my question. Just I still have like finance, accounting, and a couple other classes left. And so that was just more my thing. I wasn't really super interested in an internship or even classes that are like music related, more so the business, so.
Sure, and just to give you another idea and plug like a program that Meredith leads, which will be virtual this summer, there are internships like the Study Abroad program for a month in Angers, France, where you would take marketing and finance classes. Opportunities, did I say internships? I meant to say there are study abroad or faculty-led opportunities as well, where you could get that kind of credit. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be an internship. That's just what I was like focused on, because we're talking about that paperwork process, but there are other ways besides an internship where you could go abroad and get those business credits if that's in the back of your mind. So I would say explore all your options, talk to Meredith, talk to Mark Hagen, who's going to present next, but that's a good question. And I see there's one in the chat, and I think this is for me from, Caroline. Oh yeah, Caroline asked a question actually for Mark, so he answered it already. Awesome. Any other internship for credit questions?
I will mention that Veronica and I we have word of a possibility perhaps in Uganda at some point when travel resumes, working with a nonprofit that does women's projects and education and a kind of smaller village there. They need someone to run their social media. So we're going to help promote that. We're just kind of waiting around to see how travel goes. But if you're just curious about it, feel free to send me an email or to Veronica as well.
Cool.
Any other questions, or should we move on to Mark? And of course, as always, you can just put questions in the chat for whoever you'd like. All right, Mark, would you like to take it away for us?
Sure. I'm going to continue on the theme of internships for just a moment. I am sending you a big, ugly URL. Sorry about that. But that takes us to the search form that we have for finding opportunities abroad. And Meredith, if you want to pull that page up for just a second.
Sure, let me, I'll do that. Let me,
I'll introduce myself in the meantime. So I'm Mark Hagen. I'm the Assistant Director for Education Abroad. And I just want to, answer that question about internships, but I'm going to talk more about other types of study abroad. So what you're about to see is if you search on just internships.
Sorry, getting there. My computer's being, sorry.
This was totally unplanned, but there was so much interest in internships that I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay, here we go. Well, let me share my screen. There we go. Okay, now. Okay, can you see that now, everyone?
Yes.
Scoot everyone's faces out of the way. Okay.
And so what this is, again, this is just internships that comes up. The starred one there, you see minus university, and then if you scroll down a little bit more, you're going to see Duy Tan in Vietnam. Those are our two partners that offer courses as well as internship opportunities. Currently, we don't have any other partner institutions that do that, but CIEE, CEA, couple of others on Africa Impact is one that offers a lot of internship opportunities, unique internship opportunities in Africa. And then Meredith, you mentioned ISEP. We don't list ISEP on here because there's just too many options there. But if you go on the ISEP website, which is isep.org, you can search for internships and it'll tell you, where those internships exist. So just wanted to point that out to you. You've got the link in the chat, so you can bookmark that and take a look at that later if you'd like. Thank you. We'll go back to, sorry about all this going back and forth here, but thank you, Meredith.
Oh, absolutely. Don't worry. That's very helpful. It's nice to just get a visual of all those options too.
All right, so we can go on to the next one. I'm going to make this really fast because I know we're running out of time here. Why study abroad? Usually I ask everybody to think of some reasons why you study abroad, but I think you all know why you want to. Language employment, graduate schools look very favorably upon it. Academic development, personal and social development as well. And different types of programs. So we offer Appalachian Exchange. These are the partnerships that we were talking about before, like Binus University in Indonesia, as well as Duy Tan. We've got partners, we've got 60 some partners in 29 countries, I think at last count. You pay App-State tuition. Room and board is sometimes included in the cost, sometimes it's not. It really depends on our agreement with each institution. But if you're in-state, you pay in-state tuition. If you're out of state, you do pay out-of-state tuition, and there's some other opportunities that are a little bit cheaper for out-of-state students. ISEP, we've mentioned a couple of times. ISEP is very similar to Appalachian Exchange. There's an additional cost of about $650, which covers their application fee and a couple of other fees. But you always pay App-State tuition, room and board, so you know ahead of time what that's going to cost you. ISEP is just an organization that allows us to offer hundreds of locations in something like 70 countries around the world. So if we don't have a partnership, you can always turn to ISEP. Affiliate programs, these are the ones that usually have alphabet soup in front of their names: CIEE, CEA, ISA, SAI, etc. These are generally pretty expensive options, and so I mentioned for those of you who might be out-of-state students, you can often go on an affiliate program for less than what you would pay for your out-of-state tuition here. The way they work is instead of paying App-State tuition, room and board, you are paying whatever their fees are. But some of them offer some great and unique opportunities for our students. Summer, I'll just say that during the summer, we don't have any exchange programs available. And so some of our partners do offer opportunities to study there in the summer, but it is whatever fee that they choose to charge for those programs that you will end up paying. I skipped over faculty-led, come back to that right now, but faculty-led is like Meredith's program to France that Meredith, Veronica, and then McNeil lead each summer. They are the faculty who will teach the courses. They do have some visiting faculty in this case as well. But in these types of programs, you are taking an app course. It's in the app catalog. You earn app credit. And basically, you're paying for your airfare and your time, your lodging and meals and so forth while abroad. Compare that to everything else that I've talked about so far. And these other ones, you're pretty much on your own. You're taking courses that these universities offer. And before you head out, you get permission to transfer those courses back to App State. With the other ones, you're not getting an A through F grade. You are just bringing back the credits. So it's pass-fail. International service, internships we've talked about, international research, just know that we've got some other opportunities for you to go abroad. All right, next one. These are some of our most popular programs. I will not read this list, but these are our programs that fit very well for our business majors and minors. And Meredith, you make these slides available afterwards, right? You're on mute.
Thanks, sorry. Yeah, we'll also have a recording of this presentation as well, but we can definitely make this available to students.
Yeah, and really a lot of this information too, well, all of this information is on our website through that search that you saw before. You can search on semester, year, or faculty-led type programs. But this just gives you an idea of the many places that you can go. These are language programs, so you can satisfy your language requirements as well as your time abroad. Next one, please. These are programs that don't necessarily satisfy the language. I highly recommend that students consider places like Indonesia and Thailand and Poland and Vietnam, where all of those classes are taught in English. You don't need to know those languages, and they're kind of off the beaten track. You know, there are places that not a lot of students study abroad at, and so it's a great opportunity to make yourself shine when you're interviewing for a job later on. And the next couple of slides, I think, yeah, so this is just highlighting a couple of the programs that we offer. I'm going through this really, really fast because of time here, but stop me if you have questions. So Binus and Duitan we mentioned.
Where is Binus, Mark?
Binus is in Indonesia, Jakarta.
Indonesia, okay.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of students who go there. Our program in Gdansk, I think this is one of our most underutilized programs. Again, everything is in English. You do not have to learn any Polish whatsoever. And it's a great opportunity. They've got just a huge catalog of courses available for our students, and they excel in business courses. And next one. Wenzhou in China is another, again, great opportunity for our students, especially business majors. Next. Choosing a program, come to us. We'll be happy to walk you through this process. We do have a Study Abroad 101 course that I recommend that you take it, take the Zoom live version. But if you can't find a time to take the Zoom version, we do have a recording of it available. But this is an opportunity for us to just kind of go through what I'm talking about right now, but in greater depth, so that you can figure out what types of opportunities are available, figure out how you can search for programs and so forth. But some of the things to start thinking about now is, when do you want to go abroad? And I will tell you that if you go in your senior year, it is tricky because it's harder to find courses that are going to satisfy your graduation requirements. So it's best to go abroad in your sophomore or junior year at the very latest. Also, do not plan to go in your graduating semester, because it is too complicated for us to get transcripts back. Where do you want to study? What do you want to study? Do you want to stay live in a large city or a small town? We've got all kinds of opportunities for our students. And then what is your budget? So if your budget is pretty much limited to what you're paying here on campus, then you probably want to look at one of our partner institutions or ISAP. And I think the next one is how to pay for your programs. Let's see, next slide. There. Oh, I'm going to skip over deadlines, but paying for your program. We have scholarships available. We have a round of scholarships that is opening up next week, I think Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember when. And that window will be open for a month. I would highly recommend that if you're planning on traveling anytime from May 1st of this year to May 1st of next year, that you apply for the scholarship. You do not have to have chosen a place to go or even what you want to study. We make it pretty easy for you, but you can find the link on our webpage. And we award anywhere from $250 up to $2,000 for those awards. There are national scholarships available, and you can find that information on our website as well. And then, of course, the College of Business, as well as some of the other academic departments offer money as well. I will say that College of Business has a little bit deeper pockets than other academic units on campus. And then I think the last slide is just how to get in contact with us. We do have virtual walk-in hours every Wednesday from 2 to 4. The link is on our website. You just click on that and you'll be connected with one of like 5, I guess, advisors that we have right now. And so we'd be happy to talk to you about that. That was really quick. Let's see. Yeah, so Meredith, you answered the question about GPA. I'll just add to that, that if you do go abroad, don't think that you should take this just pass fail. Try to obviously get the best grade possible, because if you're considering going to graduate school someday, you're going to want that transcript. They will require that. So it's just that what shows up on your transcript here is a pass fail. Any other questions that anyone has?
And I know we're just a tiny bit over 4. If people are okay with it, I don't mind. We could take questions for maybe 5 more minutes and then we'll close everything up. If you have to go, that's fine. But does anyone have a few questions for Mark or Molly or Veronica? And I was going to mention too, we had our study abroad scholarship deadline for the College of Business was actually yesterday. But for the wonderful people who are here, if you email me and say, oh, I didn't know the deadline was yesterday, can I have a little more time? Then I will not close the application today. I will close it sometime tomorrow. So you can pop on there and get that deadline. Otherwise, we have another one in September. So, but yeah.
Caroline, I'm going to answer your question a little bit more thoroughly. I did say you asked about how long programs are. If you go on a faculty-led trip, they're generally on the shorter side. From 1 week up to about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the program. But again, you can spend a semester abroad, a summer abroad, you can spend a whole year abroad, you can actually spend 2 years abroad if you wanted to.
And Jordan, I'll just, am I muted? Okay, no. So the study abroad scholarships for the College of Business, technically the deadline was yesterday, but I'm making a special offer to those who are in attendance today that you can, it's open right now and I won't close the application until, let's say, tomorrow evening. So you've got, it's not a super complicated application. So you've got time to get it in if you're thinking, oh man, I would like to get some scholarship access. And you can access it from the College of Business webpage. So there's OIED's application, and your deadline I think is like in a week or 2, right?
No, it opens next week and then closes. Yeah, opens on February 17th and closes on March 15th.
Okay, and then ours is .appstate.edu/international, and you can find scholarships on that page. So there you go. And that's actually where all of our information is. I just put in the chat for College of Business International. Oh, yeah, there it is. Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
Yeah, any other questions before we wrap it up? Yeah, you're welcome, Jordan. It's great having you folks here. I'm glad people have international on their radar, even if right now we're distracted by our virtual lives. Oh, there's a question for Mark there in the chat from Jordan.
Jordan, I don't know specifically. I'm sure that there's some institutions that have homestay options in Australia, but when you look at any of our program web pages, there's a fact sheet, which is just a box in the middle of the screen that will tell you all the important information that you need to know, the language that the courses are taught in, and housing and that type of thing. So it's all right there.
And I will mention, this session isn't really about faculty-led programs, but we do have a virtual information session on our virtual faculty-led programs in the College of Business next Monday at 2:30. And our website there, if you just go to the calendar, you can find the event and click on it and register for Zoom. But we have a program to India and a program to France that will be virtual this year if, if travel is not going to be an option for you before you graduate and you really want to have that, or if you'd like to have that and more later, we'd love for you to stop in for that info session. We'll also have the leader of the Holland Fellows program that Molly participated in talking about next year's Holland Fellows, which will be in person. So, all right. If we answered all your questions, then I think we can wrap up. Feel free to send an email to me at churchmm@appstate.edu. I'll put that in the chat. Or anyone else who has shared today. I know we're all very happy to answer questions as they come up. And we appreciate you being here. So thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Great
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.